Yes, indeed, folks, isn't a blue please here on cynicalbrit.com with myself, Total Biscuit. Right, okay, we've done the irrelevant movie stuff. You can tune back in now. Oh, wait, if you've tuned out for the movie stuff, you haven't tuned back in yet, you're doing it wrong! Go tell your friends, tell your wife, like so forth. Mail time.
Mail time!
That sounds like it's mail time! Here's the mail.
It never fails.
It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes,
I want to wail.
Yes, indeed, folks, it's mail time. It's a time where we read the mail, as you might imagine. And since I'm not blithering for the first 5 or so minutes of the show about various things, I think we might get more mail fitted. Dear host of shows,
You dare look upon the host of souls! I shall devour you all!
comes from Draktheon, level 80 protection red paladin. He says this: I write to you with total contempt for the degrading player base of World of Warcraft. I have had my most moronic encounter to date within the past week. I've been absolutely blown away by just how retarded these people are. This first was on a weekly guild run of ICC 10. Something went wrong, and for some reason one of our ranged had to leave once we hit Sindragoza. Not wanting to wait, we grabbed a hunter in trade chat. Shame on us, I know. We proceed on with confidence after the hunter joins Vent because the week before we killed her in one shot and moved straight onto Lich King. Our tank pulls, we got down to about 14% before we wiped due to the retard hunter screwing up the ice blocks. We shrug it off because our strategy is different from many guilds. We move on to wipe 2. Why? Because the hunter keeps screwing up the blocks, and this keeps going on for 5 wipes. And all the while his goddamn hunter is trying to direct us in Vent. The hunter that screws up the blocks and the blistering cold is trying to direct us in Vent. He's repeatedly giving false directions and trying to lead. All the while he's saying, don't panic, even though he's screaming like a little girl. After about the 3rd wipe in, I'm mocking him, yelling, don't panic, into my mic. It's now an inside joke with the guildies who were there. Now, I know it's not just fair to point it out, but I think he was an entitled casual, God forbid. But I would like to hear a rant on it. When is it right for a player to point out when someone is being an absolute total moron? Should I have held back and let him run rampant on my ICC run? Scrubs? In my ICC? It's more likely than you think. Also, a shout out to the guild Addicted on Medivh. Actually, Addicted to Obsession. That seems really, really convenient. Yeah. Okay. Firstly, if you are a puppy in a guild group, then you should be grateful for even being there. Simple as that. Secondly, puppies should under no circumstances be trying to lead the raid if it's a guild run that already has a leader. And let's be honest, if it's a guild run even without a leader, the puppy shouldn't be the one giving the freaking orders unless asked. They are guests. It's like someone coming into your house. Yep, so let's say you invite someone to a party, yeah? You don't even really know them all that well. They're a friend of a friend of a friend. You invite them to be courteous, etc. And hey, it would be nice just to have an extra person at the party. Because you've got a bunch of sausage rolls, they need to be eaten. And honestly, you can't finish the sausage rolls. That and sausage rolls are really bad for you anyway, so you don't want to stuff them down because you might just have a heart attack. Whatever the case, you invite the guy. And not only does the guy take part in the sausage rolls, which is okay, but he directs you in the cooking of the rest of the food, and the decor, and how the party was arranged, and the guests that should be there, and what food should be served, and what music should be played. And he keeps yelling about this the entire time, ignoring what everyone else is saying. That's basically what it is. It's beggars can't be choosers. Eh? If he comes into a guild group, then he should be grateful for even frickin' being there. Especially, of course, when he's giving bad advice. I mean, how is it even possible that you give bad advice on a fight that has been now killed so many frickin' times that the strategy is ingrained genetically into the minds of half the player base? Seriously, how do you even do that? I don't know. That's just welcome to entitled casual puggers, folks. It gets to the point where people are so entitled, yeah? They feel that this $15 a month entitles them to everything, including the leadership of the group they were invited to. I have a quote about this, actually. Oh, yes, indeed. Someone actually quotes me. There's quite a few people in the forums that are quoting me on this one. I must have said this ages ago. I don't know where this quote came from, but yeah, it's in quite a few signatures now in the forums. I said this. I know your $14.99 entitles you to play the game your way, but the rest of the raid's $359.76 says know your role. I don't know when I said that. When did I say that? I know I did say it because people are attributing this quote to me. I just can't remember when I said it. Maybe it was years ago. I don't know. I'm sure someone can tell me. Oh, man. It's totally right as well. You are a single player. A single player. One person, one voice, versus either 9 or 24 other people, or maybe even 4 other people. Whatever the case, it's simple mathematics that 4 greater than 1, 9 greater than 1, 24 greater than 1. Always, every time. Especially when that group is a guildie. Apparently it was 3 or 4 shows ago. Okay, whatever. I can't even remember what happened last week. The sheer arrogance of it is disgraceful, and unfortunately a lot of people are like that. These are the people that are kind of left still playing the game right now. Ugh. Disgraceful. Yeah. You should have, to be fair, you waited too long to rail on the guy. If he comes in and he screws up the main mechanic of the fight, then what I would turn around and say to him is, what the hell are you doing? You know? You said you knew what you were doing here. There's a reason why people ask for Link achievement. There is a reason. Because this is why. Yeah? They have to try and use these various artificial means to avoid people like this. Because there are people like it, and there are an awful lot of people like it. It's really bad. Incredibly bad. Whatever you need to keep people out of there, folks. Like I say, you will always be disappointed. If you go to a pug, you'll always be disappointed. I constantly hit myself for queuing solo ranked in League of Legends because I meet the most retarded people. And it's a universal truth. I play video game. I am best player of video game. Always the way. Seriously, it's horrible. Oh well. Let us continue. I do have other emails. This one's about guilds that are bad. Okay. So it comes in from, wishes to remain anonymous. So I will keep him anonymous. Dear host of shows, on nearly all your points I agree, and apologies if this is badly spelled, I'm dyslexic, but I want to toss an idea out there for you. I've always been a gilded raider, but I have, in a few instances, run into guilds where they conduct themselves and have incredibly bad behavior. An example, an unnamed guild that would Photoshop people that they didn't like, or raiding guilds that were, quote, breaking RP, in an RP channel named Darknest. If you don't know what Darknest is, it's an RP community that practices erotic roleplay in World of Warcraft. Sadly, I do know what Darknest is. A couple of our ex-WoW radio guys that ended up getting fired, I might add. This was not the reason, but we looked up after the fact and it didn't surprise us in any way. We're part of the Darknest erotic role-playing community, and I believe they drew furry art. Oh god, I'm sorry. I need... Ugh. Get me the mind scrub. Wow. So bad. Anyway. They would then post these shots on the Warcraft forums. Even though the threads would be removed, people affected were humiliated. Try again. Humiliated! And later had to leave the server to avoid harassment. There are other guilds I've seen that would charge a gold fee to be in them, which I don't really have a problem with. However, the particular guild later disbanded, and the GM kept all the gold for himself, then transferred servers. Oh, wow. Another similar example, a raiding guild had a fee, and after the guild banked gold cap, the guild leader sold the guild to an unknown party for a large sum of money. There's a guild bank gold cap? I wasn't aware of that. I want to hear your opinion on these examples. I'm a new listener, I'm still going through your entire catalog of Blue Please, but I only ever heard you lay into a guild once, and that was with Exodus, with their cheating. Don't get me wrong, I hate pugs. I've even got my Kingslayer title pugged, and it was the equivalent to pulling your own teeth out. Yeah, no kidding. I think what this highlights, ladies and gentlemen, is something that I think this actually is partially my fault. No, it's not my fault that people use Darknest erotica, certainly not. But it's my fault that I haven't been more clear, perhaps, over the past month or two when I've been talking about guilds. Yep. Being in a guild is not the magic solution to everything, it's just the magic solution to most things. There are still very bad guilds. Indeed, there are organizations of people that will go out of their way to be terrible. Yeah? The difference between that is that there's actually some malice aforethought there. Yeah? They've actually gone out of their way to be bad. Yeah, like, say, guilds that were set up to scam people, or guilds that have these campaigns of hate and naming and shaming against people. You know? That is organized griefing. Yeah, there's no question about that. Whereas pugs, they're just bad. Yeah? There's no malice there. They're just terrible. It's as simple as that. You can assume that by default. The vast majority of guilds, of course, don't play that badly and certainly don't maliciously, deliberately, with actual forethought and preparation grief people. But that is not to say that the guild is the answer to everything. When you choose your guild, you have to maybe be as picky as the people in the guild that are reviewing your application to it. Just because you organize people together doesn't mean they're going to be any good. In fact, what you'll find is that there are some guilds that just take anybody, dregs. And I could say, actually, the Trollface might end up being that. I'm hoping not. Certainly hoping not. But there is a potential, certainly. Without a doubt, there is a potential for that to happen. I think the way that we're organizing it is going to minimize that potential, admittedly. But hey. What I would say is that if you've never been in a guild before, if you've just started recently and you're thinking of guilding up for Cataclysm, then just do a little bit of research. Huh? You wouldn't necessarily apply for a job without doing a little bit of research into the company. And if you do, then you'll probably get scammed. Hell, the one time that I ever applied for a job I didn't do research on, I almost got scammed into getting involved in a ridiculous sort of get-rich-quick scheme thing that would have resulted in probably me making no money whatsoever and a waste of my time. Thankfully, after that, I learned my lesson and did research into the companies I was applying to. And the same with guilds. You know, joining a guild isn't as serious as getting a job, but you are picking the people that you want to spend a very significant amount of your leisure time with. That should require a little bit, just a little bit of common sense, as well as some research beforehand. You have to be diligent. As do the people recruiting you, I might add. If anything, perhaps the guilds doing the recruiting have to be more diligent than the people doing the applications. You got to bear in mind that a lot of people that apply to guilds are doing it en masse. You know, these applications end up everywhere. There's been various instances of people saying, oh, well, you're just using a cut-and-paste application on 30 different guild forums. You evidently don't care about being in our guild. You just want to be in a guild in general, which is understandable, but doesn't mean it's a very good idea. People tend to get annoyed by that. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that guilds like this exist. I wish it did, but it doesn't. Right, I think we have time for one more. So let's go and have a look in the mailbag for this one. Here we go. The State of Racials. This is from Byron Winkler. That can't be your real name. Also known as Aralith. Definitely not his real name. It was reported recently on MMO Champion that Dark Flight, the Worgen racial, has been nerfed 30% from 70% speed down to 40%. This left me wondering about the state of racials for all races, not just the new ones, and what Blizzard's goal was with them. In my opinion, racials should be something that define the race, something you see that makes you recognize and want to play that race if you happen to find a racial interesting. I think they got that pretty much down with goblins, but I'm not so sure about the older races. I remember hearing that Blizzard wanted to rework the racials. Well, from what I've seen, it's mostly been a removal of some abilities and changing the cooldowns of others. What part do you think racial should play in the process of creating a character? Should it be, if you want to play a warrior, for example, you should be looking at races and picking one with the ability that best suits that class and its playstyle? Or do you think the racial should simply be something on the side and that a race should be chosen solely on appearance? But, it's interesting. So, I fall firmly on the side of strong racials. All the time. There are arguments against strong racials. The argument against that is min-maxing. Like, for instance, if you made a tanking racial too powerful, then every warrior would be, say, a Tauren. If they were tanking. And that's a bad thing. There has to be choice. That said, that's a balance problem. That's not a design problem. If you don't make the racials in combination with the way that the class looks and sounds and feels and plays, and, of course, in terms of the race and how it sounds and looks and feels and plays, sufficiently competitive, then that is a balance issue. You've done it wrong. It's like saying, oh, well, the optimal thing to do is this. The pursuit of balance goes down simply to a matter of variety. Because if you don't have balance, then people will pick the most overpowered thing they can find. Most of the time. Some people won't, but the vast majority of people will. So, if you have, say, a tanking racial that's too overpowered, then you end up with everyone going to that race for tanking. Race changing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure Blizzard would like that in terms of how much money they'd make off of the race change mechanic. However, it is bad for variety, and it's bad to pigeonhole people into a single race. That said, the current state of racials is bogus. I mean, racials just generally speaking suck. I mean, it's a bunch of crappy passives that no one really cares about. +5 to bow skill. Woo. Yeah, it's useful, but it's not bloody exciting, is it? The activatable racials, Blizzard said they wanted to go down the lines of having more powerful racials and more activatables, and they wanted to get rid of these crappy passives, and they haven't done it. It's as simple as that. They have not done it. People keep asking me, can you make videos on the new racials? There are no new racials to show you. There just aren't. They're the same. There's minor tweaks on them, and that's it. And now nerfing what is admittedly a very powerful ability is doing it wrong. I've said this, and I said this since vanilla. I remember on one of my early Blue Please shows saying this. Don't nerf a racial, overpower the rest of them. Buff them up. Because if you have sufficient variety, and you go down the route of balancing by making everything OP, then that's okay. That's reasonable. It's just, you take something like Dart Flight, and then you nerf it into the ground, and it's just sad, really, because that's been racials in a nutshell for the past 6 years. Nerf it, nerf it, nerf it, and nerf it again. Oh, terrible. My name is Total Biscuit, and you're listening to Blue Please here on CynicalBit.com. Would you like to hear some Cypher Drone by Disharmonia Mundi? Well, if you wouldn't, that's tough. You're getting it anyway. Enjoy.